Thank you very much, Joseph and Thierry. And we have lots of questions already rolling in. We have now 30 minutes. We will try to address as many as possible. But for those we will not be able to address, we might be able to address them afterwards in the FAQ section of the vehicle authorization section of our website. So this will be linked then to the page that you find about this webinar. And on this page, because we have already received several questions about the presentation that has been given today, we will make also the presentation available on the website. With that, I move to the first question. Joseph, you have already touched upon it. How has the agency managed the COVID-19 crisis with regards to the new processes? And Thierry, maybe you can say a few words on how the crisis has impacted the number of applications to your team.
Well, thank you very much, Max. And just to let everyone know that the agency was more or less closed as of 13th of March. So we have moved into a mode of massive teleworking. And interestingly enough, we could see that our processes worked very well in regard to teleworking, with our IT system working very well. And one of the advantages of the one-stop shop was that it is in the cloud. So there was never any technical issue with the one-stop shop. And we could use also the aspect of the one-stop shop that it is a communication tool between the applicants, the agency, the members of the agency team, and with the NSAs. And in regard to the number of applications, Thierry, you said it already, but you can comment.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. In terms of number of applications, we haven't seen any decrease of the number. This, from what we saw in the OSS and what we have dealt with, we have taken the same number of decisions during this period than before, even a little bit more. This was certainly facilitated via the OSS, because this tool can allow us to work remotely. But at this stage, we have not seen any major impact, even if we know that some applicants had problems and need to close temporarily the factory.
Thank you, Thierry. I move to the next question, which has been posed by Valentin Ambros from Fermit. Could you tell us the 5 engagements closed regarding the ERTMS works, the trackside approval?
Can you repeat, Max?
What are the 5 pre-engagements for the ERTMS trackside approval?
The ones that we have already closed.
Yeah, the initial engagement.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We had initial engagement with, if I correctly remember, Poland. We had also one with France and the Netherlands. And the other, I don't remember.
Italy, I believe.
Italy, we had also.
Thank you. Next question is, shall a 40-year-old vehicle running in an unchanged area of use without any authorization, pre-NSA, have an authorization for placing on the market if it has been out of operation for, let's say, 5 years without any changes made? And now it needs to be used again. Thierry, what do we do with this?
The key aspect in this is to know if this vehicle is still or not registered. If a vehicle is registered in a national vehicle register, it means that even if it has not been operated during a few years, we will consider it as deemed authorized. And then, if there are changes done on the vehicle, we will, as authorizing entity, have to assess the change, and based on this, we will create a new type. But one of the basic principle of the fourth railway package is really that what is currently in operation is deemed authorized, and when they are changed, we assess the deltas.
Okay, thank you. We have a statement here that I invite both of you to comment to. We believe that examples of requirements capture would be useful in order to harmonize the content and the understanding and behavior of NSAs. Anything we can say to that, Joseph?
Well, I think that is a very well taken point. Our experience has it that we have many applications where the process of requirements capture is used very well. And we have also, unfortunately, several cases where the process is not very well used or not very well understood. Indeed, we have already discussed with some representative bodies from the sector that we do kind of seminars for sharing the best practices in order to bring everyone up to speed on that important aspect.
Thank you. We have another statement that I invite you to comment to. In my opinion, there is missing a European Railway Research Institute, that may be associated with ERA, like the former RRI. What is the ERA position on this issue? Otherwise, research and development in the future will take place only in responsibility of the member states. This is a question by Andreas Thomas, member of the Board of Appeal.
Well, Max and Mr. Thomas, many thanks for this very important question. Our position is that we follow with interest what is happening in Germany. We have also a memorandum of understanding with Eisenbahnbundesamt on that subject. And indeed, it is an idea that we see very positively, also to establish an equivalent situation at European level.
Thank you. Another question on pre-engagement. Will there be a template for pre-engagement file in the future, Thierry?
We have already in the regulation what are the elements that needs to be provided by the applicants for the pre-engagement. We are working for the moment on templates for the assessment teams to ensure that all the different assessors and the person involved in the project will check the same evidence and the same elements, and also to ensure that we have an harmonized way of working. When these are done, as we already did for some of the checks that we perform for the conformity to type, and when we will have secure this template, we have no problem also to make them available.
Follow-up on this, it's also on requirements capture. Is ERA planning to develop LTT, lines to take, about requirements capture aspects? Yeah. I believe. Yeah.
No, I will perhaps repeat what we already said, but it's clear for us that for an aspect like requirement capture, but it's only one of the examples, the industry should drive this work because they have the experience, they have the expertise in the requirement capture. They should provide an exchange between themselves, involving the authorities also, what are the best practice for this. When we will have achieved a reasonable evidence for this, we have no problem to have it in a clarification note of an application guide. But we want really the industry to drive this process. I want only to remind that we have tried to do this, to organize it. We have organized 4 or 5 workshops on this subject, inviting sector organization, NSA, but the result of this were not, from our point of view, sufficient really to put in the application guide. But we invite really the industry to work on it, and we can support by publishing it.
Thank you, Thierry. I see several questions on the Eradis database. I will go with this one here, also posed by Anonymous. Will the Eradis database be improved in the future regarding upload interface for automated upload, for example, Excel interface, and restrict possible input data by drop-down lists? So people seem to have some issues there.
Yeah. We will work in the next release of the OSS, but I haven't a precise date in it now. Thus, we will work on the integration of the OSS with the database, this Eradis and ERATV, in order to allow and to avoid that the applicants need to duplicate some inputs. Now, concerning the Eradis database, I think that there are currently in the unit of Anna Gigantino some reflection on how to improve, but I can't for the moment give more information on this.
Joseph, you want to add to that?
No, I cannot add more. There is some ideas that are ventilated, but for sure these will be discussed with the sector.
Thank you. We have an issue with dates of expiry. I would like to know the kind of issues a railway company could face when applying for SSC for two different states. One of them already adopted the fourth railway package and the other one didn't. If their current security certificates expire before October 2020, should the application process be through the OSS?
Thierry?
I think it's a quite complicated question for to deal with in a webinar, but I can try. It really depends. The scenario that you are described in the question is that we have a railway undertaking having operating in one member state, having already transposed, either 19 of now with the member state having transposed today, and another member state transposing on the 31st of October. Thus, in this case, the area of operation is in more than one member state. Thus, an application needs to be sent in the OSS for the agency, but we are not yet competent for the member state having not yet transposed. That it means also that this railway undertaking will need to have a part B or a part A, but that is a specific case, also in this member state. Generally, when we face the case, but for this, we really invite the railway undertaking to contact us in advance so that we can also check with the National Safety Authority of this member state how we could already cooperate, even if they are not yet in the fourth railway package. Because we believe that even if our decision will not cover this member state, there is a place for the agency and this specific NSA to cooperate in order to reduce the amount of work for the applicant and the exchange that it could have with this National Safety Authority.
Thank you, Thierry. That was a good answer in the webinar to such a complex question.
No specific on these questions, because we anticipate quite a lot of discussion on this topic. We will issue a clarification note in the next days, providing some information on how an applicant should manage his application file in this period of transition between now and the 31st of October. It will be the next days on the website.
Thank you very much. Katrine Frelsen from the Danish NSA asks, are best practices collected somewhere already now?
We collected what we are our frequently asked questions, where we provide our opinions or advice when we have recurrent questions. As I said, another aspect is the clarification note, where when we have recurrent question also, we provide our aspect. Now we are collecting it, and what we anticipate to do is to convene beginning of next year. It has been postponed slightly due to COVID-19, but we will convene workshops to discuss all the items and to provide this best practice, this additional information later on in the revision of the application guide.
Okay, thank you very much. Joseph, this one's for you. What's the role of the DIBO in this new process?
Well, in the new process, the DIBO is there to assess the notified national technical rules, and the DIBO report is, of course, part of the file that accompanies the application. So the DIBO is an essential part of the process chain.
Thank you. Could you comment on the experience of ERA applicants and NSAs in pre-engagement? A question by Henrik de Bonte.
Thierry, you want to answer?
Yeah, we really believe that this is a very important step to involve early the authorizing entities in the process, to make them aware of the project, to have a first exchange of with the applicant, and also to have their opinion on what will be the applicable rules for this project. This aspect is certainly very important for the applicant to secure its project and to minimize the risk that a certain rule could pop up later in the process. Thus, we really encourage applicants to use this pre-engagement. Now, it's also, if I look to a single safety certificate, for example, pre-engagement is also a very important step to allow the authorizing entities and the certification bodies to be aware on the safety management system, the change, to have the first inputs from the National Safety Authority on their supervision activities, to start the coordination between the authorities. And based on this, we really believe that the quality of the application file will be improved and will ease the authorizing and certification bodies to issue their decisions even quicker than what is foreseen in the legal framework.
Thank you. I have a question here in regards to the cleanup of national rules by Bruno Revelin from the Swiss NSA. Why does ERA not want national safety rules who are in line with TSI, no contradictions, if these national safety rules are only relevant for IM or RU, for infrastructure managers or railway undertakings? These safety rules are an important basis for the operational railway staff to guarantee safe processes and to maintain capacity of the national network. Any of you want to take this one?
Well, just on the theoretical ground, we are of the opinion that the national rules should not be redundant with what is in TSI, so we consider it as not necessary. If the national rule is really identical to what is in the TSI, there is also no harm done, but the problem is when it is not exactly aligned, and then we need to be very careful that we don't have any contradiction.
Thank you, Joseph. Thomas Rutner wants to know if we intend to open the advantage of cross-border agreements to holders of safety certificates following Directive 2004/49.
Thierry, cross-border agreements for single safety certificates?
Yeah, this cross-border agreements are possible for, these are also in the safety directive, in the new safety directive. This it means that when a railway undertaking is operating mainly in one member state, but wants to operate in a station in another member state, what is covered by a cross-border agreement, in this case, indeed, the cross-border agreement should apply. But for this, we need the NSAs to have signed these agreements in order to make sure that the NSAs from the member state where the operation is done is really able to cover the cross-border station.
Thank you, Thierry. Paul Hooper wants to know, when upgrading an old existing vehicle, have you solved the problem of them not appearing in registers like ERA-TV? Do they have to be completely registered in ERA-TV before or as part of the upgraded with systems like ETCS?
No, if I understand correctly, is whether it is necessary that the vehicle is registered in ERA-TV prior to submitting the application.
Right.
And here, if it is a real change, meaning an upgrade in ERTMS, then this is a new authorization by the agency, at the end of which there will be an authorization which will be also a type authorization which can then be used for the registration in ERA-TV. And the other situation would be if for such a vehicle you would ask for a conformity to type. A conformity to type requires it that the type exists in ERA-TV prior to submitting the application.
Thank you. I have a question from Francisco Juste from Renfe. The achieved average time for conformity to type authorization is 9.5 calendar days. In case of fleet upgrading, when modifications are implemented in just 1 day in a serial process, is there any improvement initiative to reduce this time?
Well, first of all, a couple of comments. As Thierry has already outlined, the legal deadline for conformity to type is 1 month. We are currently, in the last 3 months, achieving an average of 8.5 days. The 9.5 is the average from June 2019 to May 2020. However, the average is not a very good measure because we have some authorizations that can be done very quickly, and we have, unfortunately, others where the documentation is missing that are very long. In the case of good planning and advance information of the agency, we can deliver an authorization within hours. And there is another hint, if we are talking of a fleet update, the application can also be done for an entire fleet. And I believe, Thierry, we have already authorized, I believe, 250 or 300 in one go.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question by Andreas Bikowski from Deutsche Bahn. When can we expect a clarification on Article 2112b of the Interoperability Directive, which requires a new vehicle authorization for renewal and upgrades of vehicles if the overall safety level of the vehicle concerned may be adversely affected by the works envisaged? This requirement is very largely interpretable, but we need safe planning.
Okay, thank you. This is an item on which we are working. Thus, we have already made a first draft, but we are also sometimes criticized for the clarification note that we are issuing, because either when we issue them, it's not covering all the different aspects, or also not taking into account all the experience that we could have. Thus, I have not a date for the moment. Again, like for the requirement capture, the experience, the expertise to make this should be in the sector. Thus, we encourage also sector to provide us some information. And when we have them, we will issue a clarification note. But there is no date for the moment, but we are working on it.
Thank you, Thierry. We have 3 minutes left. We have been running through the questions. They're still coming in. As I said, we will try to address all the questions we haven't addressed here in this webinar after the webinar on our website, as well as that you can download the presentation there after shortly. So I go to the next one. Regarding the new role, holder of vehicle type authorization, has it been more common with the supplier as applicant or the railway operator? And what do you think are the main challenges with this new role? It's a question by Signe Rasmussen Hagström of SGAB from Sweden.
I haven't made the exercise. My feeling, but I'm not sure, is really that for this authorization, mainly we have as applicant manufacturers. But I could check once in the database.
No, but Thierry, you are correct, because from the authorizations that I sign, I would guess it's around 90% that comes from the manufacturers. Very rarely we have cases coming from railway operators, railway undertakings. For the time being, this might change.
Thank you. I go to the next one. What is the reason for the differences between the practice of countries with highly positively assessed NRs, for example, Belgium or Spain, and the negatively assessed, for example, Germany, Hungary, and Italy? Can we say something on that?
I don't think we can make generic statements. We are still in the process of assessment, and as usual, some member states are more advanced and some other member states need some more time. So it is an individual situation. We cannot make a global comment.
Okay, unfortunately, we have to come to the last question. It's from Luigi Di Tano. About vehicle authorization, what is the mean time you need to deliver authorization? Is it confirmed the duration defined in the legal framework, or there is an improvement based on the first year experience? I think we touched upon it, but maybe you can repeat.
Yes. First of all, I would like to draw the attention that we have still, as explained in the presentation, limited experience. But what we see, and the main obstacle that we have is really the quality of the application files. When the quality of this application file is acceptable, there is absolutely no problem for the authorizing entity to deliver according to the legal framework. What we see in some cases is that some issues that we raise on a specific case could request the applicant to make, for example, more tests, and could then put the project on hold. But I would say that when the quality of the application file is reasonable, good, there is no problem to be inside the legal framework.
And so far, Thierry, we have always been able to be in the legal framework. However, unfortunately, we also had, I think, 2 or 3 cases where we had to raise justified doubts, meaning we had to put the assessment on hold in order to give the applicant time to bring us the required evidence.
Thank you very much, Joseph and Thierry. We have received more than 100 questions. Again, we will attempt to address some of them in the aftermath of this webinar. We will make available both the recording and the presentation on the webinar webpage. I thank everybody for your attention and give the final words to our speakers, Thierry and Joseph.
Well, thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you for being with us on this historic day, and thank you for all the good questions. Indeed, as I said before, it is very important to cooperate and to exchange and to learn together. Thierry.
Thank you, and also thanks from my side for the exchange. We will certainly have the opportunity to meet again in the framework of project. As you have seen, there are some aspects, positive aspects, where we can really be proud of what we have done. There are certainly areas of improvement, and we really believe that all together we will achieve, and that if we redo this type of exercise for the 5 years, for example, of this fourth railway package, the discussion will be different, and I hope that really we will see the full benefit of this fourth railway package. Thank you for your contribution.
So see you in 2025 for the 5 years event.